the House is yet to form a quorum, and it is a requirement that 1/3 of the members must be present before business of the House resumes.
And when Madam Speaker suspended business at 10:40 hours for a 20-minute health break, on the floor of the House was Siavonga Member of Parliament, Mr. Darius Mulunda, moving a motion urging the House to adopt the report of the Committee on Local Government Accounts on the report of the Auditor General on the Constituency Development Fund for the financial year ended 31st December 2022 for the third session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 31st July 2024. And so once the quorum is formed, we expect Siavonga, Member of Parliament, Mr. Darius Mulunda, to continue moving this committee report.
Yes, and what has been discussed on the floor of the House so far includes a motion that was moved by Her Honor the Vice President to suspend standing orders, that standing orders 26(1) and 55 of the National Assembly of Zambia Standing Orders 2024 be suspended to enable His Excellency General Evariste Ndayishimiye, President of the Republic of Burundi, to deliver a special address to the House on Friday, 2nd August 2024.
The House also considered a ministerial statement that was delivered by the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security. This was on the ongoing investigations in the matter of the Director General of the Independent Broadcasting Authority, and so we'll be able to share with you the details of this ministerial statement later on.
The House has also considered two questions for oral answer under Standing Order 82, and one of the questions came from Kamfinsa, Member of Parliament, Mr. Christopher Kangombe, and he directed this question to the Minister of Finance and National Planning. And in the first part of the question, he wanted to know whether government will pay terminal benefits to over 350 former employees of Trust Bank PLC following the takeover by the Bank of Zambia. And the second part of the question, if so, when the employees will be paid.
Question for oral answer under Standing Order 80 came from Pemba Member of Parliament, Mr. Lamek Hamwata, and he directed this question to the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security. He wanted to find out a question in three parts: whether the government has any plans to construct a correctional facility in Mpongwe district, if so, when the plans will be implemented, and what the estimated cost of the project is.
So those are some of the questions that have been considered on the floor of the House.
And earlier on, Madam Speaker also did make an announcement. Madam Speaker recognized the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Ndabeni Academy School from Avonde Lusaka District. Madam Speaker, on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, warmly welcomed the visitors to the National Assembly.
So the bells are still ringing, and a quorum is yet to be formed for business of the House to continue. And it is a requirement that 1/3 of the members of Parliament have to be present before business of the House resumes.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much for still watching Parliament television. The bells are still ringing for the members of Parliament to come back to the House for Business to continue.
And at the time, business was suspended at 10:40 hours for a 20-minute health break. On the floor of the House was Siavonga, Member of Parliament, Mr. Dalius Molonda, moving a motion urging the House to adopt the report of the Committee on Local Government Accounts on the report of the Auditor General on the Constituency Development Fund for the financial year ended 31st December 2022 for the third session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 31st July 2024. And so once the quorum is formed, we expect Siavonga, Member of Parliament, Mr. Dalius Mulonda, to continue moving this motion.
Another motion expected to be moved by Wamba Member of Parliament, Mr. Fred Chatila, and he wants to urge the House to adopt the report of the House, of the Planning and Budgeting Committee on the 2024 mid-year budget performance report for the third session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 31st July 2024. And we also have 5 bills yet to be considered by the House. And one of the bills is the Kazungula Bridge Authority Bill, National Assembly Bill number 12 of 2024, to be considered at second reading stage.
We also have the Human Rights Commission.
Order. Honorable members, I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Little Saints Private School in Kabata, Lusaka District. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I warmly welcome our visitors in our midst. I thank you. When business was suspended, the House was considering the motion that the House adopts a report of the Committee on Local Government Accounts on the report of the Auditors General on the Constituency Development Fund for the financial year ended 31st December 2022 for the third session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 30th July 2024. And the Honourable Member for Siavonga was moving the motion. May the Honourable Member continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Local Government Accounts on the report of Auditor General on the Constituency Development Fund for the financial year ended 31st December 2022 for the third session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 31st July 2024.
Is the motion seconded?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah. Wanyambose 65.
Seconded by the Honourable Member for Chasefu. The question is that this House adopts a report of the Committee on Local Government Accounts on the report of the Auditor General on the Constituency Development Fund for the financial year ended 31st December 2022 for the third session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 30th July 2024. Any further debate? The Honourable Member for Siavonga.
Mr. Speaker, in line with its terms of reference, the committee considered the report of the Auditor General on the utilization of the Constituency Development Fund and had occasion to interact with accounting authorities and other relevant stakeholders on the subject matter. The interaction reviewed various weaknesses in the utilization of the fund. Mr. Speaker, allow me to quickly mention that the 22 CDF allocation and subsequent utilization was the first of its kind, considering that this was the year the fund was increased from 1.6 million to 25.7 million kwacha. This increment came with new guidelines and regulations that to a greater extent affected the speed utilization of the funds because of the delays in the launching the guidelines. Mr. Speaker, the delays in the launch of CDF guidelines, issuance of ministerial circulars on the management of the loan empowerment component and on the CDF control measures, and the delay in the approval of projects for implementation of government and the requirement for the Office of the Attorney General to centrally approve contracts that were more than 1 million were some of the bottlenecks that were experienced. Mr. Speaker, further the committee learned with dismay that grant funds were being misapplied by councils on account of failure to conduct monitoring and ignoring the technical appraisal recommendations by the CDF committees. In this regard, the committee urges the accounting authorities to impress upon the CDF committee members to always take into account the recommendations of the technical appraisal committees. Mr. Speaker, the committee discovered that beneficiaries were implementing projects without supervision and were in most instances failing to meet the intended objectives of the fund. The committee in this regard urges the affected accounting authorities to ensure that capacity building on the beneficiaries and enhance monitoring in order to prevent wastage of the public resources. Mr. Speaker, the committee also expresses concern at the rate at which the councils are exhausting the administrative component of the CDF, which does not correspond to the number of monitoring activities they were conducting and the quality of projects being implemented. In view of this, the committee urges the accounting authorities to be prudent with the use of the administrative component of the CDF so that monitoring of projects is not affected. The committee remains confident with the measures being put in place by the government on the administration of the fund that irregularities will drastically reduce. Mr. Speaker, let me conclude by thanking you and the Office of the Clerk for the guidance, support you rendered to the committee during its deliberations. I further wish to thank all the stakeholders that appeared before the committee and the technical support rendered to it by the permanent witnesses. Mr. Speaker, I also wish to appreciate the members of the committee for their cooperation and dedication to the committee work, which made my role as chairperson easy. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move.
Thank you. Does the seconder wish to speak now or later?
Now, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Chasefu.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to second the report. First, I would like to thank the chairperson of our committee for the able manner he has highlighted the critical issues that have been observed in our report. In seconding the motion, allow me to touch on areas which the chairperson may not have touched. Mr. Speaker, the first one I'll touch on this important report is the management of the contracts by the implementing agencies, which are the local authorities. Chairperson or Mr. Speaker, it was observed by your committee that there are serious gaps in the implementation, especially on management of contracts. As you are aware, Mr. Speaker, that CDF is a game changer. This enhanced CDF is meant to uplift these communities in terms of projects, in terms of other services provided to the communities. However, gaps have been observed. One of them is the contract management. Mr. Speaker, you will note that one of the councils that was highlighted, or two of the councils highlighted in this report, was Lupososhi and Kanchiwia here. Lupososhi and Kanchiwia were cited, Mr. Speaker, in the sense that in the year under review, ending 31st December 2022, Lupososhi Council failed to award contracts to the local people within Lupososhi district. Further, they could not award any contractor within the province, same as Kanchiwia District Council. Chairperson, the directive, Mr. Speaker, the directive is that we should first empower our locals. CDF is meant for the locals. So these monies given to these districts are supposed to benefit the people there. Despite having the capacity of the contractors having the capacity, we saw that monies were being awarded to the people outside the province. And this is not only happening in Lupososhi and Kanchiwia, it is happening across the country. So this is the observation that was made by your committee, and the recommendation is that as much as we have people who have the capacity, chance should be given to the people within the district or within the province so that the monies remain within those areas to benefit the people in those areas. One of the issues also, second issue which was observed and not highlighted by the chairperson, is the issue of delayed completion of works, Mr. Speaker. Your committee has observed across all the councils that there is a serious delay. A contract, a project which is supposed to be implemented in a period of 12 weeks, it takes more than a year. And when you check the auditor's report, you note that there is extension after extension. And some of the people will tell you that this extension is at no cost at all. But people fail to understand that just the period of implementation, if you delay, is a cost on its own. And this does not resonate well with the vision of the President, who has said that projects should be implemented within the shortest period of time, at the right cost, and the true value of the money. So once there is a delay, there is loss of value for money. So this is one of the observations that your committee made in the area of delayed completion of works. The other area, Mr. Speaker, which my able chairperson has not highlighted, is the failure to avail supporting documents, especially accounting documents, to the external auditors. Many times we have sat as a committee, councils have appeared before the committee, they will not avail documents, missing vouchers, unsupported stores. All accounting documents will be missing during the time of audit. And you start wondering why these financial documents are missing. You start suspecting that it's deliberate because monies are not being utilized accordingly. So this is a very big issue. If we are going to see the value of CDF, so that all the resources allocated to CDF are seen to be implemented and utilized according to the desire of the government. So this is an issue that is appearing in the Auditor General's report. Every year, year in, year out, they are missing documents. Deliberately, these are financial documents, meaning that utilization resources are not utilized prudently. So there is a recommendation that we ensure that local authorities are able to account for the resources prudently and accordingly. So there are so many observations highlighted by the chairperson, but I thought I should touch on these to augment what my able chairperson has highlighted. With these remarks, I want to second the motion ably moved by my chairperson. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any further debate? The Honourable Member for Nkana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also would like to make a few comments and particularly speak to the Minister of Local Government. Honorable Minister, a report has been tendered before this Parliament by the Committee of Parliament on Local Government, highlighting the audit that was conducted for the utilization of the CDF for the year 2022. Now, we do understand, Honorable Minister, that from the word go when this CDF was enhanced, we spoke of teething problems, and it was expected that we're going to face those teething problems because this fund had been enhanced. And so most of what has been highlighted in the report speaks to these challenges that we've spoken to. Before I go any further, I would like to implore the committee to make changes on the report on page 65. Specifically when you speak to Nkana, I think there's a little bit of a mistake made by the committee. The 850,000 was not spent from the Nkana account, but from Kamfisa. So that must be corrected, Mr. Speaker. Now, just as a reminder, Honorable Minister of Local Government, the problems that we've presented before you on different occasions and forums that have impacted or impeded the effective implementation of CDF, as I clearly highlighted in the CDF, is number one, the bureaucracy. I do recognize, Honorable Minister, that you made a decision to now delegate the authority, the giving of the authority to the provincial committees. But I wish to also bring to your attention that despite you having delegated that authority to the provinces, in fact, it used to take lesser time when you used to approve than now when the provinces are approving. Because of what? The committees at the provinces, Honorable Minister, you need to look at it. They are, created from different, and they meet at will. So it is taking longer than when you actually used to approve. In fact, there are certain characters within these provincial committees that deliberately are trying to usurp the decisions of CDF committees by dictating what otherwise the committees do not want. So, when we look at that report, page 265 speaks to Nkana, and I want to speak to Nkana myself. The report suggests that after the audit, 4.4 million had not been spent as at the end of 2022. Now, Minister, 4.4 is a lot of money, and we've lamented over why some projects, Mr. Speaker, you wish to know, some projects meant for 2022 in Nkana have not been implemented as we speak today. I'm speaking to not 1, 2, but 3 projects that have not even started off since 2022. The challenge of, failure to agree with ministries. I have a particular problem with the Ministry of Health. The Ministry of Health, Honorable Minister, you may need to pay attention to this issue. The communities are mandated by CDF to decide what they want. If they want a clinic, it is not up to the ministry to dictate otherwise. Because what is happening, and the reason why we have some of those projects not implemented as we speak, is the community wants a health post, the ministry wants a hospital. We who have the money knows what we want and knows how much the money can cost or can purchase. But the Ministry of Health is otherwise dictating. That is why from 2022 up to now, I have 2 clinics that have not started. One in Kandawe and one in Ruyando. And you can imagine these people are expecting that infrastructure, and this is now almost mid-2024. Nothing is happening. So, Honorable Minister, I want to implore you. There is need for us to harmonize the working of ministries, because ministries cannot be dictating. Because by design, we are expecting communities to make their own decisions. Why then do ministries want to now usurp that decision power by the communities to also now be dictating what must be done? The other issue, Honorable Minister, you may need to be aware. I'll speak to that issue that has been highlighted, though misplaced. It was meant for Kamfisa. Monies meant to support local water utilities. We have a problem in Nkana ourselves. Some areas have challenges of water, and on several occasions, ministers have urged us to use CDF to support the Ministry of Water to address water problems. But there's that problem of we allocate money meant to go to water utility companies, but the local authorities are insisting that they must be the ones that must actually procure. Our thinking was that the water utilities are better placed to be the ones to manage. So I'm of the view that you must harmonize this. For us, we believe that if, for instance, as we've done in Nkana, we've allocated 5 million out of the 2024 CDF. We've allocated 5 million towards the problem of water in Mindolo. Our thinking is that that 5 million should just be given to Nkana Water. They know the problem. They should be the one to manage that resource. But the local authority is also insisting the council must do the procurement. You will find there's going to be a problem. So I thought that you must, pay attention to that. Now, Honorable Minister, you wish to know that when we speak to bureaucracy, there are a lot of implications that comes with delays in implementing projects. I'll give us an example. We did plan as in Nkana to procure a compactor in the year 2023. The quotations we got were, I think, I can't be specific to the figure that was quoted, but because of delays, we found that we have to spend an extra 1.3 million kwacha because of the delays. So you can see how this bureaucracy is now affecting this otherwise a very good program. So, Honorable Minister, yes, I want to insist, as I've always insisted, CDF still remains a very good agenda in taking development to the local communities. But for as long as you don't pay attention to these issues we're highlighting, this will continue to remain like it was a hoax. Please underline that. It will remain like it was a scam because we have failed to address these impediments that we have been highlighting from when this enhancement was done. So, Honorable Minister, we are here to support you. But please, be prepared to listen. And I want to commend you. When you found a problem like you did last week, you were able to call on me and we harmonized that issue. I think that is what we ought to do. We are partners in development. So these issues highlighted in the report will only help make the CDF an effective program to deliver development to the people. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member from Nkana. You've done well. To commend the Minister when he's doing well. The Honorable Member for Lundazi.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for giving the people of Lundazi to support this report, which has come on the floor of the House for CDF implementation. Mr. Speaker, when something is good, it's usually spoiled by too many cooks. They can spoil the broth. Mr. Speaker, CDF is a good program. However, I would want to highlight some of the issues which are making it seem as if it is not good. Mr. Speaker, pay attention, or Honorable Minister, pay attention to the issue of issuance of SIs or ministerial statements. I don't know how many letters you have written instructing differently over the same issue. Today, this is said, tomorrow, that is changed. It will spoil the broth because there are too many instructions which are coming from the ministry. The second one, Mr. Speaker, I want to talk about the issue of calling upon the CSCs, Director Works, and all these workers. They are always in Chalimbana. I don't know about the other ministries. I don't know about the other CSCs from other areas. Mr. Speaker, we can't have the council not have the accountant, not have the council secretary, not have the DPO. And when they come to Chalimbana, they stay for more than 3 weeks. How are they going to implement? By the time they are coming back, they are tired. Before they settle into the office, you have got them back again to Chalimbana. Try to devise a way in which you can be able to update your officers. It would have been wise if at all you started using virtual instructions. Maybe you meet them virtually so that they can be able to attend meetings virtually. This is eroding the whole component of user fees which they are supposed to keep as a council. All the money is being used by them moving, and the worst is that they are even using the CDF vehicles. They have to drive into Lusaka, they drive into Chongwe, they stay there for 3 weeks. By the time they are coming back, there's also another invitation for another officer. Honorable Minister, work on that one so that your officers can sit in the office and be able to attend to some of the pressing issues which are in our constituencies. Quality of projects which the report has talked about. Honorable Minister, there is need for you to intentionally create a team, not those cadres that know they have gone to inspect. No, create a professional team which can move through the districts and the constituencies so that they can be able to check on the quality of the work which is being done. If you do not do that, you are going to spoil the broth. Honorable Minister, management of contracts, which the report has talked about. Honorable Minister, we can't have the CDF, which is constituency-based, and all the contracts have been given to people who are out of Lundazi. That is very painful. You go, you ask the council secretaries, they are tongue-tied. They are failing to speak because of fear. Honorable Minister, sort out the wickedness which is happening in the awarding of contracts. Once it is good to give 1, 2, 3 contracts to cadres who are able to do the work, do not spoil this good program. Because now those cadres who have come and taken over projects, you find that Lukwizizi, they have left, they haven't completed, and we don't have anywhere to point at them. Those who are in Lundazi, it's very easy for me to say, Mapiri, can you get back to the project? Otherwise, I'm going to deal with you. But these others who are coming from outside, it's very difficult for you, for us, or even for me as a member of parliament, as we adjourn tomorrow. When I go back, I have nowhere to find those contractors who have gotten, especially Fiofio, the other one who has gotten Nikwizizi, they have run away, they have gotten funds, and they are nowhere to be seen, and the projects are not even completed. Honorable Minister, the other issue that you need to liaise with the new Minister of Health is to see that these projects should start now operating. We have finished some clinics. However, consumption by the Ministry of Health is very, it was literally difficult. Liaise with the new Minister of Health so that he can be able to operationalize some of these projects which have been completed. The idea of wanting the project to have 4 houses before it is completed, it is not going to happen with the few resources that we have. As we are waiting, the projects are being vandalized. It would be important if those which are ready and there are houses nearby where people can be able to rent, at least allow the projects to start operating. That is the only way CDF is going to have meaning anyway. Also, Honorable Minister, deal with this anxiety of not allowing opposition members of parliament to officially open the projects. They can stay, and you can say the MPs shouldn't get anywhere near there, as long as they remain unofficially opened, or maybe just the minister just goes to the bomb and says, no, all of them I have officially opened. One way in which I can be able to tell is that it is disadvantaging not only yourselves. For me, that is my house. But for you people, allow to work properly with the members of parliament by allowing them to be part, especially that we are the owners of CDF anyway, through you, the Minister of Local Government and Housing. Madam Speaker, we're always used to Madam Speaker. With these few but very important observations, I have seen that the issue of the monies now being taken to Bank of Zambia has become also a nagging issue. Once a contractor has been given the contract, we are waiting for a month before Bank of Zambia releases the funds for someone to take over. Too many cooks spoil the broth. This is a good project. If you don't put mind to it, Honorable Minister, will find yourselves not having any projects in which you are going to officiate. In addition, there is need for you to allow us, the people, especially in rural areas, to have an easier way of bidding. The moment you want us to use the electronic mode in Lundazi, most of the times there is no network. When are we going to find contractors who are going to bid electronically? It would be important, Honorable Minister, that you work on those. With those few remarks, my brother, Honorable, I submit. Speak.
Honorable.
I'm sorry. The Honorable Member for Chiengi.
Ama.
Sorry.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, allow me to thank you and the Minister to give the people of Chiengi an opportunity to debate on this very important report. And I know Chiengi was one of the councils which was audited and was called upon by the committee. Mr. Speaker, we have a challenge, as my colleagues have alluded to. The creation of provincial CDF committees is disadvantaging our councils, including Chiengi. There's a time when we, as a CDFC, decided to buy mattresses for a rural health center. I was so shocked to see that the provincial CDF or whatever committee rejected that. And yet they don't live in Chiengi. My colleagues have already alluded to regarding this thing of having the provincial committee, which seems to be really dedaling, especially for us who are in the areas which are, we don't belong to the ruling party. We've had challenges of having projects approved. As a result, we've had our finances or the funds being moved out of our council accounts. So I think this, I know, just like what my colleague said here, the Honorable Minister for Local Government is a man of action, and I hope he will move in quickly to give us something that will enable the councils to have the projects approved in time. Mr. Speaker, the issue of contracts and projects. Mr. Speaker, allow me to disagree with some of my colleagues, especially the second of the motion. We can, yes, we intend to empower the locals, but look at the quality. If you come to Chiengi, you agree with me that it's a sheer waste of funds, and these are public funds. Yes, we want to empower them. Can we select the kind of projects that we can be giving to the locals, especially the buildings? When we talk of constructing schools, when we talk of maybe anything to do with civil and building engineering, I think let's give to reputable contractors. On that, I'll insist, because I went to Chiengi a month ago, and you find that the school which was constructed, you see the cracks starting from the foundation. Those who've done civil engineering will agree with me. It means there's a problem with the structure. That structure, maybe in 2 years or 3 years' time, is something which might even collapse. So I think it's important that we choose the kind of contracts that should be given to our local people. It's very important than wasting and being wasteful with the taxpayers' money. If we've seen like some will get a contract as a local contractor where you give them a full package. They need to drill a borehole, they need to put up a solar power, they need to do this. They are failing. They can only give you a 1x3 classroom block, and they are waiting for someone to come. Now it's even a year plus. So these are the challenges that the local government should look into when they look at what they are calling, is it the EPG? Who else can be doing such big contracts? And then we allocate that which can be handled by our local suppliers. Even the issue of the desks. If you look at the quality of the desks, I saw something like from Northwestern, even in Chiengi. Some of them, they use the kind of wood they use, it's the wood which has not cured. So it will start cracking and tearing the kids' uniforms, and their parents cannot afford to be buying them new uniforms. Mr. Speaker, I also would like to urge the Ministry of Local Government that when there's monitoring of students or pupils who are in skills centers or who have gone to trade schools, there's a memo or an instruction from Ministry of Local Government where the ministry has given instructions that if Chiengi Council wants to come and monitor or to check if those children who came from Chiengi reported, for example, at Handsworth Institute here in Chongwe, they cannot travel. They need to involve, for example, Chongwe Municipal Council. Do they know those children? They don't know them. So it will be just like they have also their own work that they need to do. They need to do their own monitoring. Now you are eroding more work on these councils, for example, which are in the peri-urban and in the urban. If the Chiengi Council wants to come and do the monitoring, they are told no. Ask Mansa Council to do that. And Mansa Council has got Bahati in Mansa Central. They cannot do that. They've got their own work. Honorable Minister, I think this one, you need to look into this. This has really hindered, and as a result, we've had children whose names have been showing that they reported, and the council would pay. At the end of it, you find that these young people didn't even go. And the monies have been paid, and the other issue is that the Honorable Minister find a solution for the councils to get the money back that they pay these trades. Most of the trades and secondary schools, they've been paid, and the children don't report, and they have not been getting their monies back. Also, the other issue that I want to talk about is the issue of intimidation of the CDFC members. Like in Chiengi, Mr. Speaker, as we're speaking, we cannot sit as CDFC. There's so much of intimidation from certain circles. Even the council workers are being intimidated. As we're talking, I don't think CDF 2025 will be allocated because there's so much of intimidation from external forces. We have certain people who want to be chairpersons who are not qualified to be chairpersons for these CDF committees. So it's important that also the Ministry of Local Government come to the aid of this council before the funds are mopped out of the council accounts. The other thing is also the WDC, Mr. Speaker. The WDC is still appealing to the government that they need at least to have some incentives for them. Most of them, they walk long distances like in Chiengi. Otherwise, I want to say, please, Honorable Minister, the people of Chiengi are looking up to you. They know that you're a man of action. Please intervene with issues that are preventing the CDFC to sit in Chiengi. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Pemba.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice on behalf of the good people of Pemba constituency on the report of your Committee on Local Government Accounts, on the report of the Auditor General, on the utilization of Constituency Development Fund for the financial year end 2022. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy that the CDF is no longer a controversial project. It's no longer political. We all agree that the CDF is a game changer. Mr. Speaker, having gone through the report of your committee, I feel this report is very important to your members, very important to the executive and the public. The report of your committee is presenting feedback on the three major areas. One, whether the Constituency Development Fund is prudently utilized by the local authorities mandated to spend on behalf of the people. Secondly, the report of your committee is giving feedback as to whether the delivery of goods and services is actually satisfying the public using the vehicle called CDF. The third, Mr. Speaker, the report presents an opportunity to your members and the executive to identify impediments or other gaps in the implementation of CDF. Mr. Speaker, the Auditor General bemoaned the failure by the local authorities to provide necessary documents to the auditor during the time of audit. You begin to wonder, what is the challenge when we have qualified manpower in these local authorities? We have the auditors, we have the treasurers, or the financial managers. Mr. Speaker, the irregularities pointed out by the Auditor General, in my view, exposes the financial auditor at our institutions. Mr. Speaker, there is no way we can have all these financial irregularities when we have internal auditors in these institutions. It is difficult to understand why we should have all these financial irregularities when we have accountants qualified and financial managers, district treasurers. Mr. Speaker, we need to interrogate the independence of these officers, especially the internal auditors, whose duty is also to advise the local authority on the utilization of these funds. Mr. Speaker, we must begin to think of the independence of these auditors. We must start having a conversation, probably, to realign these auditors so that they are under the supervision of the Auditor General. Mr. Speaker, may I quickly look at the supervision of community projects. One of the challenges that I've discovered is the issue of transport. One may wonder what I mean. Mr. Speaker, we appreciate that we have a Land Cruiser that was bought specifically for the supervision of these projects. But you wish to understand, Mr. Speaker, that using a Land Cruiser when you have, for instance, 40 projects or 10 projects ongoing at the same time, it becomes very costly. I therefore propose that the local authorities should start thinking of procuring motorbikes. The motorbikes will reduce the cost. The motorbikes, Mr. Speaker, will enable our officers inspect projects, maybe 4 or 5 projects in a day. Mr. Speaker, one other issue I wish to bring to your attention is the capacity in terms of project management. Through you, Mr. Speaker, I would propose that the Ministry of Rural Development should work in conjunction with the Ministry of Infrastructure and Urban Development through the agents such as National Council for Construction and EIZ, so that our officers are provided with the skills of project management. Once their skills is enhanced, it will help in the delivery of community projects in our constituencies. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I beg to move. Thank you.
Honorable Member for Kanchuya.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this very important report. Allow me, Mr. Speaker, to start by commending the committee, but also to commend the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development for the latitude we have been given in implementing the Constituency Development Fund in Kanchibiya constituency. Mr. Speaker, allow me to also salute our council, local council in Kanchibiya constituency, because I know the hard work they put in, working in a terrain such as ours, underdeveloped as it is, and working day and night. Sometimes you find them working in the night, pushing projects and ensuring that we're on schedule before the onset of the rain. So I commend them. And in commending them, I want to say that when we've had bad eggs, Mr. Speaker, we have not been shy to report to the Local Government Service Commission, and I want to commend them that they've been very proactive in uprooting bad eggs from Kanchibiya constituency. Mr. Speaker, the CDF is a commendable intervention. Where I come from, we say chilowele chine chilombelo muchele. What is nice will self-praise itself or attract praise for itself. Ichilowele chine chilombelo muchele. And I know where the minister comes from. He also says that utachi ande achireke. The one who doesn't like it can. Mr. Speaker, supervision is one of the key issues that has come out under this project. We want to submit that as a rural constituency, as a new district, mobility by the council is a very big challenge. Mobility by the council is a very big challenge. Going forward, Mr. Speaker, and to the Minister of Local Government, we want to make a special plea that especially for rural councils, kindly consider them even under the 2025 CDF, and I want to pray and believe that the allocation will be increased. Please consider them with land cruisers under 2025. This will facilitate easier monitoring of projects. The same goes with the WDCs. In 2024, we were able to get bicycles for WDCs because ours is a vast constituency, ours is a vast district. 8,800 kilometers squared, 10 constituencies. And you'd compare with districts like Lusaka, which is 360 kilometers squared. Lusaka district into Kanchibiya constituency will give you like 24 times. So without mobility, how do we expect our councils to supervise these projects? One of the issues that was also highlighted, Mr. Speaker, had to do with the burning rate of finances. It is important, and decentralization is the way to go. And I would want to support and continue to support that we continue on the path of decentralization. We decentralize HR systems, human resource systems. We decentralize financial systems right at the bottom. And in so doing, Mr. Speaker, it becomes important then that as monies get to our people, to our local councils, burning rates will increase because we would have decentralized HR systems, would have decentralized financial systems. Mr. Speaker, allow me to speak to the capacities of our local contractors. And I say so because my good brother from Chasefu made reference to Kanchvia. And I wish to just remind him that there was failure to spend 17 million in his constituency, arising from the formulation of CDF guidelines, and that they could not spend on 17 approved projects. So what we are dealing with is that this is a new program, and as a new program, we don't just want to give projects as campaign to our people. We are looking for quality, but we are looking for quantity as well, qualitatively and quantitatively. We do not want to construct bridges that will turn into death traps. We want to ensure that what we construct will outlive and outstand the test of time. Mr. Speaker, allow us to also mention that what you do not inspect, you cannot expect. As it is, the CDF vehicles, CDF monitoring vehicles, are serving two purposes in a constituency like Kanchvia. The first one is to monitor CDF projects, but to also help the council to undertake its supervisory role and to perform its functions, which is tied to what CDF is supposed to do. Your council in Kanchvia, Honorable Minister, has no transport. They are limping, and if we say that we hold on to the CDF monitoring vehicle, then they are not going to perform their duties. Our plea is that under the 2025 budget, let's have vehicles for these councils, especially rural councils across the country. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, we want to also make a clarion call that in terms of equity, there are constituencies such as ours which would have very unique challenges because of where we are coming from and who we are and their levels of underdevelopment. A model like what Kenya presents is something we need to look at. 3/4 of what is allocated to CDF is shared equally among the constituencies. 1/4 of what remains goes to the least developed constituencies. Therein comes the aspect of equity as opposed to equality across the board. Mr. Speaker, with those few remarks, I wish to support this very important report and say that we stand ready to support the ministry in undertaking its mandate. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Sinazongwe.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for an opportunity given to debate on this very, very important report pertaining to the city.
And if you can be utilizing just 4 minutes of your time, then we'll be able to accommodate as many members as
I'll try to reserve some minutes for other members, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, CDF is indeed a game changer. We are coming from a situation, Mr. Speaker, where we never had any. Now into a situation where we have big. Therefore, I would like to thank the new Dawn administration for continuous upgrade on CDF. Honorable Minister, job well done, and so far even the remotest part of our constituencies are seeing developmental projects which they themselves are coming up with. This is a milestone, even areas that never saw anything. Areas like Kanchvia, Sinazongwe, Shwangando, to mention but a few. we are seeing a lot. So kudos to the new Dawn administration. Yes, Mr. Speaker, CDF came up with a lot of challenges because we are coming from a situation where we never had any to a situation where we had plenty. So as a result, we are moving away from the poor arrangement to the rich arrangement. So challenges are there. And for that matter, we saw a lot of correspondences from the ministry to our local authorities on how the money should be utilized. Guidelines were there, directives were there. That is very normal because we were coming from a situation which we never had any money, now to a situation where our local authorities were handling a lot of money. Therefore, challenges were there, but what we can thank the Honorable Minister, Mr. Speaker, is that even the directives, the correspondences which were existing quite often between the ministry and the local authorities, we have seen a total reduction, meaning stabilization has come and the councils are using the money with, of course, with some few challenges here and there. The other challenge that we still remain with, like what has been highlighted by the report, is the Attorney General's chambers. There was a plan that each and every province should have Attorney General's chamber. I don't know how far, Honorable Minister, this has gone, because again, it's coming back to the chamber here in Lusaka to be clearing all the 156 constituencies. It's still cumbersome. A lot of projects are being delayed. We need to work around the clock, Honorable Minister, seeing to it that at least each and every provincial headquarter has the Attorney General's chamber, so that we speed up on project clearance. The other issue, Honorable Minister, through you, Mr. Speaker, which really was prevalent, was the workshops by the controlling officers who used to travel very frequent to either Lusaka, Livingstone to attend workshops. But so far, speaking for Sinazongwe, we've seen a reduction on the trips from the controlling officers, meaning we are moving in the right direction. We shall see a lot of projects being completed on time. The other issue, Honorable Minister, through you, Mr. Speaker, it was the administration fee. I don't know, Honorable Minister, how you can handle that situation, because you find projects are not completed, but the administrative component is exhausted. They have exhausted all the money. So I don't know how best you can handle that, so that at the end of the day, there should be correlation between the project's implementation and the administration component. So those are the areas that I thought, Honorable Minister, you should take a closer look at. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Chiruvi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, though I've been called after being skipped. Mr. Speaker, I first want to start.
What did you say, Honorable Member?
I was thanking you. Huh? I was thanking you, Mr. Speaker.
What did you say?
I was thanking you, Mr. Speaker.
No, the first, because we can retrieve the verbatim. What did you say? Thank you. I thought you were skipping. May you take your seat? The Honorable Member from Mbabala. You have a point of order.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for giving the good people of Mbabala an opportunity to input into the report on local government accounts, ably moved by the chair for the committee, Hon Mulunda, and ably seconded. Mr. Speaker, in the interest of time, I would like to touch a few quick issues under CDF, first of all by commending His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema for giving us this very important tool to deliver development to the people of Zambia, and in particular the people of Mbabara. And I'm also commending the minister, because indeed he is a very proactive minister who deals with issues there and then, and I've been testament to that when I've had issues for approval. Minister, the issue of disaster contingency fund. We complained last year, and it remains an issue this year, that when we put disasters like I've lost a borehole, I just need a pipe, I just need the hole to be dug, or a blown roof for a school, it still goes to the district disaster management committee, who go to the field to go and check, who will come back and say, no, that one is not a disaster. And that puts us in a quandary and in a very difficult situation, because the community is asking for that borehole to be fixed, and the disaster management committee says, no, that's not a disaster. I think let's define a disaster fully. What the community sees as a disaster is a borehole not functioning because the pipe has fallen in, or there is no more, or it has collapsed, and the like. Incinerators not working at the clinic, and the like. Blown roofs in schools and the like. That's what the community see as disasters. So let's put more clarity, and also have the efficiency of a disaster. I think we said a disaster must be dealt within 24 hours, yes. As opposed to 3 months, 6 months, you are still dealing with a disaster. So let's push on that, Honorable Minister. The issue of contract management, issues of quality control in whatever, especially the constructions. Whenever I go around on monitoring, I find that the quality is not top-notch in terms of finishing. Our engineering department still needs more human resource to be able to go on the ground. So if maybe you can give them even more interns and the like, so that they can be on the ground, because the quality finishing, you find window latches are not finished, the doors are not fitting well or not closing well, the floor is cracked and the like, and you come back again, those things still have not been fixed. So the issues of quality control from our engineer department still needs to be worked on. And of course, the process of executing projects by the whole teamwork at the councils, there is always an issue of having to see this memo or actions taken report has not been done or something like that. Can we have a mechanism within the councils? Last time we talked about a department, or there needs to be a bureaucratic system of ensuring that whatever is in the minutes which has been agreed by the CDF committee is executed by having an actions taken report. But you find that things have been agreed, you come 3 months later to sit again, they are not acted on. And there is a restriction. Right now we are dealing with 30.6 million, Honorable Minister, but there is a restriction on the sitting to 4 sittings. The volume of work is huge. For example, in my constituency, the volume of work in terms of what the community has requested for this year was worth 100 million kwacha. And then, of course, we had you have only about 12 million to spend on those projects. So the whole process of going through 600 applications, 600 or more for salaries. And then on the admin, we also need the feedback to the communities. The feedback to the communities is very slow. At least increase the efficiency there on the feedback. Because the coffins, we receive people who need transport money. We receive people who now there is a demand for meal allowances from the students we have sent into these colleges, and and those who need to be evacuated from our local hospital, for example, Masha Hospital to UTH and the like. You find that you don't have money for these things, and they end up being coming from my pocket money. Is it possible for that the new guidelines also include a social fund that can deal with these matters in a more logical manner to help the people in the constituency? And then the courses, we know that we are currently not paying for the diploma courses. But the Honorable Minister, I think it was one time I was listening to you in Mazabuka, you also admitted that the selection of the courses must be up to the community, because we have a lot of these who are doing agriculture, nursing, and other related diploma courses. Most of them are actually asking for a Kongore or a debt from us MPs to help them pay school fees for their children, because they are doing nursing, they are doing agriculture. Just this morning somebody was calling me, no, my child is doing agriculture in Pika, can you help me pay the fees and the like? So we ask, Honourable Minister, that can we increase the courses and let the communities be the decider? M&E, monitoring and evaluation, Honourable Minister, is a management tool that is supposed to help the delivery of projects. I've seen that certain groups go to the constituency and monitor, and their reports are not there. So where do they take these reports? Because when you do monitoring, your report must show that these were terms of reference, these are the changes that needs to happen. So the various groups that go around doing monitoring from other areas which are not in the guidelines must be controlled, Honourable Minister, so that we can use those reports as guided in the guidelines properly, you know, as a management tool to control things. The last few items, Honourable Minister, can we, I also want to concur on the issue of adding value to the work of CDF. Like I mentioned, in Babara, I've got 11 clinics that are ready and 2 maternity wings. And these come from the presidential directive. So can we, your ministry, help us to talk to Minister of Health? Thank you, Honourable Speaker. This was the last point, to just ask the Minister to talk to the Minister of Health.
Order, Honourable Member, your time is up.
Thank you so much.
Honourable Member for Chadiza.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for allowing the people of Chadiza to add a voice on this very important report. Honourable Minister, I'm citing the report on the Chadiza Town Council, where it was cited to have failed to spend 20 million kwacha in 2022. Honourable Minister, there were various reasons as to why the council failed to spend the indicated amount. The first one, Honourable Minister, is that of lack of capacity that was then in the council in 2022. Honourable Minister, we had situations in the council where just to come up with a simple design was a big problem. Just to come up with a simple design, just an architectural design. Worse off, if you are talking about coming up with a design for a crossing point or a bridge, it was a nightmare. Because if you are talking about coming up with a design for a bridge, you need to understand some certain softwares that are used in the structural analysis, like Procony, AutoCivil, and all these other technical software that we use in order to come up with solutions to some of these bottlenecks that we encounter in engineering. So in the council that, in my council, Chadiza Town Council, then basically there was nothing in terms of capacity to deal with such type of things, because it's from the designs that you derive your BOQ from. And there's no way you can embark on works if actually there are no drawings and there are no BOQs. There's no way, Honourable Minister. So this factor affected the council in a very negative manner in 2022, the year under consideration. Honourable Minister, the other factor actually which led to failure to spend this money was due to failure to supervise those even few projects actually that were running. Honorable Minister, we have a situation in our rural constituencies where some areas of our constituencies during the rain season becomes inaccessible. So you have situations whereby you have got a project in areas where these technical people cannot access during the rain season. So a contractor, one, will proceed to do the works because each and every stage, the procedure is like each and every stage, you have to seek permission to proceed. Those are the systems. So a contractor has done, Minister, there was a situation where the contractor has done a slab which cannot be checked for him to conduct some subsequent or consequent works that will follow after the slabs. Now the contractor wasn't able to be given direction as to how he will proceed because the council staff couldn't access the project site. So how do you expect them to consume or to bend the project monies when the contractor has got no guidance, he has got no instruction whatsoever on how he's going to proceed? This is the other point, Honorable Minister, which led to failure by my council to consume the aforesaid amount. The other issue, Honorable Minister, which was very important from the chairman or the mover of this motion, the approval system then, Honorable Minister, was not known. There are a lot of problems or a lot of teething issues that this program faced in the inception. I'm sure you are aware about what happened in the inception, of which most councils countrywide couldn't actually execute works to the expectations. Most of the councils, Honorable Minister, which consumed the monies are those who just decided to procure equipment. You see, if we, for instance, all the monies under community projects, you just allocate it to procurement of earth-moving equipment, you'll be deemed to have consumed 100% the monies under community projects. But not necessarily that actually there were any tangible works actually that particular equipment could have done. But on record, you find that they have consumed the whole monies under community projects, basically just that they bought earth-moving equipment, which I'm not against, but I'm saying it was one of the tactics most of the constituents were doing, or most of the members were doing. So, Honorable Minister, my council, being in the state in which it is, we couldn't go that way because we had a lot of challenges. This is the constituencies which, if you were to look at the status in terms of development, it's very backwards. Us, what we wanted was to embark on projects that would see the constituencies to have a number of health posts, a number of schools, a number of boreholes or water provision facilities. This is the angle at which we are looking at how we would be consuming our funds under CDF. Honorable Minister, let me not go much on what caused the failures to consume the 2022 fund, but I would also want to address an issue which you should consider very much, and this point is very important, Honorable Minister. It's the executive directives that we get from your ministry. Honorable Minister, like I will cite my own constituencies, where we have got so many competing needs in my constituency. And then we receive an executive directive. For instance, I'm just giving an example, construction of chief palaces, which to me almost got all the allocation under community projects. And yet we had a lot of outstanding issues with regards to projects which the people themselves wanted. Honorable Minister, the construction of a chief palace basically benefits one single chief, as compared to if we are to construct a health post, or we are to drill a bore, or we are to construct a water scheme. These benefit masses of people. And I know, Honorable Minister, by the end of the day, what is very important is to look at the masses. Honorable Minister, I'm not disagreeing with the fact that chiefs need palaces. I'm not saying that. But looking at the need specifically for some of our constituencies, people, the majority of people, like in my case, wanted us to do much more on community projects than focusing on the chief's palaces. Honorable Minister, with those few remarks, I would say I beg to move.
Honorable Member for Kankoyo.
Yes. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, due to limited time, I will just focus my submissions on just one critical component which I feel the program of the vision of President Hakainde Hichilema to increase the CDF could be facing a challenge in the implementation. Mr. Speaker, I strongly believe that just like many other departments in the government system which are receiving so many funds, have expanded the activities they have to do and coordinate a lot of activities due to availability of funds. What could be missing mostly is failing to establish a functional operation department to coordinate all the operations in the council. You can see that, Madam Speaker, from the experience in Mufulira, we have bought almost all the equipment you need to improve the service deliveries in the constituents. However, there are many times when the MPs, we are struggling to understand why you have a bulldozer marooned somewhere, you have a TLB marooned somewhere, we have got this equipment idle somewhere, because we haven't given the council the capacity to be able to coordinate the activities efficiently. Hence, things are not being coordinated properly. In as much as we want to put the blame on the town clerks or the council chairman, I strongly believe the functions of coordinating and operations in the council should be separated from the executive functions. Coordinating activities, producing a result, reducing the cost and becoming efficient is an art which needs some science behind to ensure that things can be done right. As long as we keep on putting pressure on the town clerks, who are there to provide an executive functions in the implementation of the CDF, while we forget the role of optimal operations. I'm sure engineers who could have done operations management to be able to understand what I'm talking about. To coordinate activities in an organization which is, in the modern world, you need the functions of a chief operating officer. Without having an operations department in an organization which needs to coordinate multiple activities in a single day to ensure that things are done properly, you'll find that you keep on pointing fingers on innocent people who are not even part of what we're trying to achieve. So for the councils to become more efficient, I strongly believe that we need to establish a department of operations so that the people in the operations department are able to coordinate activities and we reduce on idle time. It's not right that we keep on condemning and firefighting to deal with a problem while we failed to look at the real cause and the solution to ensure that the CDF can deliver to the expectation of the people. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Chairman South.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, in supporting this report, I think I will not be doing justice by not thanking the President of this Republic, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, and his entire cabinet for this well thought and designed program. It is a program which is changing the lives of our people in rural areas. For those of you who are members of Parliament, probably in Lusaka, you can easily criticize CDF. But for us who are coming from rural areas, this is a game changer. No wonder on many platforms I've stated that I'll be among those that will be called names over CDF. Honorable Speaker, for the first time in the history of this country, in the history of Chama South constituency, we are now procuring our own yellow machines. We have a grader that is right now operating in Chikwa because of CDF. As if that is not enough, why is the honorable member for distracting my... If she's not using the CDF, we are using CDF.
No, you...
And we are receiving.
Proceed.
And as if that is not enough, I just want to assure the people of Chama South that we are embracing this CDF fully. We are building clinics in areas that never had, or people never thought of having health posts. And we want to assure them that the procurement of more equipment is underway. A 30-ton, 8x8 trackers just arrived in Chama for Chama South constituents. And another one is on its way. Aurora, the council is in the process of procuring. This is true money, and I've been whispered that the president is likely to even increase this year. What else do we need? No wonder, Mr. Speaker, for me I've stated that I'm likely to graduate from a choir master to a prophet now, over CDF. These are things that are changing the lives of our people. People are receiving grants. Colleagues, as members of parliament, when a president is doing something good, let's encourage him by telling him that this is good. Our people, we want to tell our people in Chama South that you will continue, including Chasefo and many other constituencies, that you will continue receiving these grants and loans. Yes, there are implementational challenges because this money just came at one time. Unbelievable. I've always said it is unbelievable. 23 million, 26 million. Now we are talking about 30 million. And councils were overwhelmed. All we need to do is to perfect processes, Honorable Minister. Chama Council, in the process of procuring more machines, we are told here at Attorney General's office that go and submit your contract at provincial level. They went to Chipata, submitted. Then Chipata now is telling them that they have sent back the documents to Lusaka. These are simple issues, Honorable Minister, that we need to look into. When it comes to implementation, as I said, initially we faced those challenges, and we are confident that we are learning lessons and systems are being put in place to improve the delivery systems, particularly to do with projects, Honorable Speaker. Many projects, if you go on the ground, contractors are not doing a good job. You've given us the money and people are expectant to see to it that quality projects are being delivered. But we have those challenges in some constituencies. I know that Isoka is doing extremely well. Honorable Nakaponda can accept the first time big hospital is being constructed using CDF. And in Chama South, we want to even build a mini hospital next year at Chikwa using CDF. Let us talk about other things, not CDF. CDF is something that all of us should embrace. And I would like to encourage you and encourage the President that if that whisper becomes true, rural communities or rural constituencies, I don't know what others we are going to speak when everything is done. This is what colleagues on the left should have been doing when we were in power. Especially when it comes to CDF. So I can be called names, but the truth is the truth. The people of Chama South, let us analyze things from what is happening on the ground. Let's compare and contrast. As your member of parliament, I promised you and the people of Zambia that I will remain objective. I will tell you what I did under my political party PF, and I will also tell you by the end of next year what we will do under this government. It is from such comparisons that we decide who to work with and who to work against. This is how the country should move. You just don't just do politics out of doing politics. You look at what is being done on the ground. So the people of Chama South, I want to assure you that the road from Chikwa to Emusa, from Chifunda to Mnyokwa, with the procurement of these machineries, including what the government is doing, will be done. That is the reason why we are elected. And thank you, Minister. Kampemba Bridge, Ruangwa Bridge is about to be opened. Chama Matumbo will be opened. This is what we want. What else? So, for me, Honorable Minister, CDF, I want to appeal that let it continue. You have our support, and we are supporting you. We are supporting the President. I greatly thank you, Honorable Speaker. And this is happening throughout the country. I submit.
Thank you. Let's make progress. I know it's a topical issue. Would have loved as many people to debate as they should have. But the Honorable Minister will respond now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. By definition, an audit is supposed to be an inspection of financial statements to determine whether or not the usage of the same is actually being achieved, and if there is any misappropriation. I'm thankful to the committee chairman for his report, and also the seconder, who highlighted a few of their concerns as a committee on the operation of the Constituency Development Fund. It is only befitting for me, Mr. Speaker, to say that overall, it appears that everybody appreciates the program at hand. And also to state that as UPND, the governing party, this is our flagship program where we have put a lot of effort to make sure that we transform the lives of our citizens. Obviously, it goes without saying that this is a conversation we've had before about the teething problems, as alluded to by both the chairman, the first debater, Honorable Mpundu. We appreciate that, because that is the whole essence of a committee system, to give feedback to the government on what we need to do better. They spoke about the ministerial guidelines. The ministerial guidelines, Mr. Speaker, are basically meant to improve the processes, to make sure that the aims and objectives of this said program yield the maximum benefit to our people. We take note of your concerns. We also take note, Mr. Chairman, of the concern on the administrative costs for accounting, something that has been echoed by some of the members, that the administrative cost sometimes gets depleted and it does not quite correlate with the size of the other amounts that are allocated for community projects, which makes the monitoring and evaluation of these projects not as efficient, because the people run out of money to do the same, maybe in the middle of the fiscal year. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Mpundu made a correction of the report of the committee on page 65 about his constituency. I appreciate that. He also talked about bureaucracy on approval that is now taking longer than it ordinarily would take when I was the one approving. The intention was good. And I want to state that as we made the changes to the guidelines regarding this particular aspect, we put a caveat there that all projects will be deemed approved 14 days after they are lodged with the the approving office, which is now the provincial committee. The intention is well meant. He talked about this harmonization of the community requirements and ministries, and he makes an example of the Ministry of Health. I can only encourage Honorable Mpundu, who's since left, and all other members who have a similar challenge, that we must never wait for the delivery of such a report when challenges are faced along the way. That's why some of us are privileged to sit in offices. We sit in the offices from 7:30, sometimes up to 19 hours, to make sure that we attend to these very challenges that, for instance, I'm just learning now that money is sitting in Nkana constituency because the Constituency Development Fund recommendation for projects has differed with the Ministry of Health. I'm learning now for the first time. So we shouldn't use this platform to bring out things that ordinarily we could sort out, Mr. Speaker, as we get along, because that's what defines how successful a program may be. One can only state that based on our own assessment toolkit that we have developed, which is in a dashboard on the utilization of the Constituency Development Fund, we could then say these are excuses that are coming because the dashboard is very clear on how these funds are being utilized and who is doing well and who is not. Honorable Nyerenda, you also talk about seculars. I appreciate what you're saying, but it's meant for good. You talked about your staff in Lundazi that come to Chalimbana every so often. I think the chairman also was very clear in this aspect of capacity building, which is something that everybody has been lamenting about, that we need to capacitate our councils to make sure that the Chalimbana Institute is designed, it was meant for exactly that. I apologize to you if it is causing a dislocation back home in the council, and it's something that I've taken note. I also take note of your very, very kind suggestion of using virtual meetings where possible so that people can sit in the offices. I also take note of your desire for the monitoring and evaluation to improve. Honorable member, you also talked about the anxiety around the EGP and the fact that contracts are being awarded to people outside of the constituencies. Obviously, that is a source of concern for me as minister, because the president has been very clear that we need to make sure as much as possible to utilize the local contractors in order for us to percolate the local economies. And it only makes sense. So again, when all these things do come, they speak to the issue of what you are lamenting about, the electronic, the EGP. The EGP, unfortunately, I must say here and now, that even us who are in government, it is creating some challenges that are speaking to what you are lamenting about. Chieng, she spoke about the rejection of mattresses. Again, this is a conversation that we could have had. It didn't need to come here. All she needed to do, if the provincial committee shut down the request for mattresses, she could have had a chance to come to the office so that we see the validity of that requirement. She also lamented about the monitoring and evaluation. Mr. Hamwata, you commented about the audit challenges. I take appreciation of that. Honorable Chanda, I also heard you spoke about the burn rate, you spoke about the monitoring and etc. And to just thank you for the appreciation of the program. From your own words, you said Utanda Jirege. I can only also repeat that we all should fire because the intention is good. Meaning he who doesn't want must leave it. The intention is good, and so I think we have got a general consensus that the intention of the CDF is okay, and it is our duty as members of parliament, as representatives, to make sure that it works. Honorable Shaluwalo, you talked about the guidelines and directives too, and so did my brother Joseph Musanje from Mbawala, who went further to talk about the disaster component and how we should try and expedite and define what forms a disaster so that we don't have to go through the bureaucracies of going to the district disaster management committee, which basically eats into the time to respond to a disaster. We take note of that. Honorable Engineer, my brother and friend, the Honorable Member for Chadiza, I'm very thankful for your concern about the capacity and failure to create the designs for project to happen. It is a matter that we must deal with. You also lament about the central government directives. I need to get you informed that we were elected based on primarily the campaign promises that we made to our people. The party that you belong to, Honorable Daka, over a period of 10 years, for instance, because you used the issue of chiefs' palaces as an example, they built and did not complete 14 palaces. When we came into office, we realized that this is a program that is good, and it's a program that needs to be done and put aside once and for all. We ramped it up from 14 palaces that were not complete to 110 in one shot, so that we can look at what comes in the next year, put that aside, and never ever go back to the conversation of chiefs' palaces. The ambulances is another directive that we gave. And if no one can appreciate the fact that an ambulance is a life-saving automobile, then I don't know what kind of hard convincing you may want in order for you to appreciate these directives that are coming from central government. They are based on what we promised our people, what is in our manifesto, but we also accept that we belong to a constitutional democracy where even you, where you are and campaigned and won, you campaigned based on certain promises, which were not our campaign promises. Unfortunately, when that push comes to shove, it is us who've been privileged to run the kitty or the purse for the country that will override. And please accept that, because that's how it goes. Honorable Maweta, thank you for your comments about your desire to establish an operations department in order for the management and operation of the CDF to work well. Honorable Mungandu, finally, yes, I take note of the positive things that you have said, the accolade to the President. I share those with you. I heard you say you've been calling names. We have all been called names. Be strong. Let's just soldier on. And I particularly like what you said when you said, I am able to say what I did during my time when PF was in office, and I'm also ready to give a glossary of what I've done now that UPND is in office. And that will form a basis for anyone to judge you as a representative of people. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. May the Honourable Member for Siavonga wind up debate.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in winding up the debate, I want to appreciate the members that have contributed to the debate or to the motion or the report that I presented. Mr. Speaker, there are only two things that I can sum up the report. That today, in this country, everyone, before the increase of the CDF, we know immediately it was increased. Others called it a scam. But today we have a common chorus. And the common chorus, the testimony is that the CDF is in each and every district. Every member here have not just heard about CDF, but have seen CDF in their localities, in their constituencies. Mr. Speaker, I'm only imagining if UPND formed the government in 2011, I'm sure Zambia was going to be a paradise by now. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order. I put the question. The question is that this House adopts a report of the Committee on Local Government Accounts on the report of the Auditor General on the Constituency Development Fund for the financial year ended 31st December 2022 for the third session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 30th July 2024. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary say no. The ayes have it. The question is resolved in the affirmative. Next, the Honourable Member for Momba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this House adopts the report of the Planning and Budgeting Committee on the consideration of the 2024 mid-year budget performance report for the third session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 31st July 2024.
Is the motion seconded?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Seconded by the Honourable Member for Lundazi. The question is that this House adopts the report of the Planning and Budget Committee on the 2024 mid-year budget performance report for the third session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 31st July 2024. Any debate? The Honourable Member for Momba.
Mr. Speaker, in accordance with Standing Order 204, Section 4, Part C, the committee considered the 2024 mid-year budget performance report. The report afforded the committee an opportunity to monitor the implementation as well as evaluate the performance of the 2024 national budget during the first half of the year. The focus was on the country's macroeconomic fundamentals, fiscal performance, and the budget's alignment with of the 8th National Development Plan. Mr. Speaker, from the outset, the House may wish to note that the mid-year budget performance was satisfactory, although faced with many challenges. The notable ones include the drought, subdued revenue collection, volatility of the exchange rate, and the high inflation rate, which is driven by higher maize grain prices and sustained depreciation of the kwacha against major currencies. Mr. Speaker, let me highlight some of the few salient issues that we observed: underperformance of the Constituency Development Fund and Local Government Equalization Fund. Mr. Speaker, the committee commends the government for increasing the Constituency Development Fund from 28.3 million to 30. CDF was at 77%, lower than projected. This is attributed to the low absorption capacity and significant unspent balances from the 2023 financial year. These factors, Mr. Speaker, may affect government's aspiration of fiscal decentralization to transfer resources for effective service delivery. Mr. Speaker, the committee acknowledges the efforts the government has taken to resolve SAF. However, the committee urges the government to expedite the implementation of other measures, among them review of the Constituency Development Fund Act and the accompanying guidelines, the development of the Management Information System, and approval of projects by the Attorney General's Office. The committee further urges the government to ensure that measures are put in place to address the bad attitude among some council workers countrywide. Number two, payment of arrears to local suppliers and legacy value-added tax refunds. Mr. Speaker, the committee notes that during the period under review, the government took efforts to dismantle arrears owed to local suppliers by focusing on 2024. This has had a serious negative impact on most of the local businesses, as this has been exacerbated by the slow pace of dismantling local debt, focused on the higher risk and quantum of the debt. The dismantling strategy has been revised. The committee notes with concern that the local businesses are of the view that the government has not prioritized their needs.
Order.
And is more focused.
As the time is 12:55, I suspend business for lunch break. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for still being with us on Parliament Television. Business of the House has been suspended on a 1 hour 30 minutes lunch break. Business of the House resumes at 14:30 hours. And before we go on lunch break, we just have a look at what has been discussed on the floor of the House.
Yes, when business resumed at 09 hours, two announcements were made. Madam Speaker recognized the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Ndaweni Academy School from Avondale, Lusaka District, and also pupils and teachers from Little Saint School from Kawata constituency in Lusaka District. Madam Speaker, on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, warmly welcomed the visitors to the National Assembly.
And that was followed by a motion that was moved by Her Honor the Vice President to suspend standing orders, and that the standing orders 26(1) and 55 of the National Assembly of Zambia Standing Orders 2024 be suspended to enable His Excellency Mr. Evariste Ndayishimiye, President of Burundi, to deliver a special address to the House on Friday, 2nd August 2024.
After that, there was a ministerial statement to update the nation regarding the investigation into the matter of the Independent Broadcasting Authority IBA Director, Mr. Guntilamulea. And this one was delivered by Honorable Jack Mwimbu MP, Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security. Honorable Jack Mwimbu gave brief facts that on 24th July 2024 at approximately 10, a police station received a report through a phone call from a concerned member of the public in Njolwe area. It was reported that around 20 hours he had observed a vehicle which appeared to be a Pajero with its doors open. Shortly thereafter he heard gunshots. The following morning on 24th July 2024 at approximately 10 hours, while on the way to work, he discovered a body of a deceased male person on the ground.
The minister further informed the House that the Zambia Police Service promptly visited the scene of crime located near Palavana Napsa housing along the gravel road. He said that the body of the male person was found handcuffed in a pool of blood with 2 bullet wounds, one on the back and another one on the head. Also found at the crime scene were 2 bullet cartridges and an identity card bearing the name D.M. Guntilamulea, Director General, Independent Broadcasting, IBA.
The minister went on and said that a docket for case of murder has been opened and investigations are currently underway. So far, 5 suspects believed to be connected to the murder have been apprehended. Among those apprehended, 2 are regular police officers, 1 is a reserve police officer, while the other 2 are members of the public, is a staffer at the Independent Broadcasting Authority. All the 5 individuals are currently in custody and are being interrogated to gather more information.
And the minister said that in addition to the arrests, the Zambia Police Service had seized 2 motor vehicles, 3 firearms, 2 pistols and 1 AK-47 rifle, car and cash totaling to 129,300 kwacha, various electronic gadgets, including phones, hard drives and a flash disk from the suspects. He further said that police have recovered 1 VXL Prado motor vehicle belonging to the victim. He said that the investigations into the matter is progressing well and would like to assure the public that they will be informed on other outcomes in due course. However, he was mindful that the premature disclosure of certain details may jeopardize the ongoing investigations.
Honorable